Welcome back, guys. So for this demo session, we will be completing the tasks that we had from the initial session. What we'll be doing for this session is we'll be showing you how to create a vApp. We would be showing you how to add virtual machines to a vApp, grouping virtual machines in a vApp. We would also create a start and stop order, and we'll talk about the importance of having a start and stop order within a vApp. We'll also show you how to move virtual machines from different vApps, and we'll also show you how to have an overview of a network layout of how VMs are connected to different networks within the vApp. Basically, most of the functionalities within the vApp. So let's get right into it. So like I mentioned earlier, a vApp is just a grouping of virtual machines. If you notice, I have gone ahead to rename my virtual machines to a DB server, a demo DB server, a web server, and a demo app server. So there are instances where you have virtual machines that of course have different functionalities. You have your DB server within your VDC and your web and application server in some instances. What you would like to do sometimes, if you have a grouping of virtual machines that serve the same function, you would like to group them into vApps so that you can basically manage those virtual machines within a single vApp. So what I mean by this is let's just jump right into it and try to create a vApp and see how it works. So let me create a new vApp. I will be calling this my demo one vApp. So while creating a virtual a vApp, you could also decide to add new virtual machines. So you could also decide to create new VMs. So if I click on the add new virtual machine, it means I want to create new virtual machines that would automatically be part of this vApp. This is not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add existing virtual machines into the vApp, so I would just let that be. So creating a vApp is pretty simple. All you need to do is basically name the vApp, and then you can create and have your vApp running. Yeah, just to avoid any confusion, I would delete this existing vApp as it has no virtual machines running in it. So just like that, you can see my demo one vApp is up and is running. The next thing I will try to do is try to add virtual machines into this vApp so they can become members of this vApp. To do that, I would have to go to the virtual machines themselves. Then I can either choose to move or copy those VMs into the vApp. So I can move this into the vApp. And so as you can see, we only have a single storage policy present within the vApp. And then if you notice, we haven't created any networks within the vApp, so I'm unable to choose a network function. I'm unable to add a new network to the virtual machine or assign a network from the vApp to the virtual machine. So what I will do is I'll quickly cancel this operation. I'll create networks within my vApp so that when I add my virtual machines into my vApp, I can be able to assign them networks that are already existing within the vApp. So I'll go back to my vApp, click on the vApp, come to the network section. This is the network section, and I'll be creating two networks. I'll be creating a DB network, and then I would create a general internal network, which would be a routed network. So while creating a new network, you have three options. You could either create a direct, a routed, or an isolated network. Usually, a DB network is an example of an isolated network. An isolated network that sits behind your edge services gateway, which is your firewall basically, and it's a private network that only allows for communication within those private the private addresses that you've assigned to whatever network, DB network that you're creating. So quickly, I'll call this the DB network, and I can assign this a private network address, and I would skip the DNS functions and all of that. So because this is just for demonstration purposes, so we wouldn't actually be looking at the network card itself. So I'll just go ahead and add this. So you can see I have a new DB network within my vApp. I would also create a routed network. Is a network, basically you can see we have an example of an internal routed network that we've created here, but it's a network where you can also have public IP addresses assigned directly to virtual machines within your VDC, or you could choose to have NAT translation to those IPs within your VDC. So let's go ahead and call this internal or web network, and yeah, probably choose to assign it. Okay, to issue idea with this, and then basically we've been able to create two networks within our vApp. You can see our internal web network and also our gateway, our DB network has been created. So I would go back to the initial task of adding the virtual machines into the vApp, because there are no VMs contained within the vApp yet. So going back to the virtual machines, I would want to add all 3 VMs into that vApp. So this is as simple as clicking move, selecting this, and remember this is my demo DB network, so this is supposed to be my DB server. So while selecting the network now, I can choose, you can see that I have the option of choosing between the DB network or the web network. So I can choose the DB network, let's see, DHCP, and next. And by clicking done, so I have an error message saying I need to power on the vApp and retry the operation. So when I created the vApp is still powered off, so this wouldn't complete. So we'll quickly go back to that and start. Once this has been completed, I should be able to complete that task. Yeah, so my vApp is powered on now. I can go back to the VM and then move the VM. So if I'm trying to move a powered off VM into a vApp that is powered off, that would be possible, but in this case I was trying to move a powered on VM into a vApp that is powered off, hence the error that I got. So just repeat this and see now. If I go to my vApps now, I can see that the demo VM DB has been added. I'll do exactly the same for the rest of them. Move. There's only one storage policy, and then for this, for the web and the application, I'll be adding them to the web network. And I can do the same for these as well. Move to the demo vApp, web network, DHCP, and done. Yeah, so yeah, this is already performing an operation, so I need to wait a moment before clicking done. So let's try again and see. Yes. So if you go back to my vApp and click on the vApp, you can see it's still trying to completely compose. You could already see that my virtual machines, the 3 VMs, have been added to my vApps. So I now have all 3 virtual machines within the vApp, available within the vApp that I've created. So there's still one operation running about to complete. Once that is completed, what I would like to show you next is how to create a start and stop order. But before going into that, because we've arranged and selected the VMs to be added to different networks, you can click on the network diagram overview and you can see exactly how these VMs are connected to the networks you've created. So you can see my demo my DB VM is connected to my DB network, and then I connected the app server and the web server to the web network. The web network in its own part is now connected to a routed network, which is the public network that is on my Edge service gateway itself. So you can basically see an overview of what your connections look like within your vApp environment. Now back to my start and stop order. So what this basically is for example, if you're trying to centralize the management of your virtual machines within the vApp, you might want to create a start and stop order. Basically, if you're going to shut down your web services, you might want to have them gracefully shut down in a certain order. You might want to turn off your app server first, and then your web server, and then your DB server turns off last. And if you're also going to start them, you would want to typically start your DB server first, and then your web server, and then your app server. So what this allows you to do is just to set a delay. Typically set a delay between your VMs within your vApp. So you can set a delay and determine in what order does the virtual machine boots up, and in what order should they shut down. If you're centralizing, if you're shutting down from the vApp, if you're centralizing the management from the vApp. So like I said, this you could basically just assign a number, adjust the numbers to them. But what is important mostly is the start wait and the stop wait, right? So in this case, what I'm saying is I want my DB server to always come up first, right? And afterwards, I would want my app server to come on. So for the start wait, I can say this should take 30 seconds before it comes up, and then I can say this should take 60 seconds before it comes up. So what this means is while starting up, my DB server will come up immediately, and next to that, my app server will come on. So I could put this in 2 and this in 3 actually. So next to it, my web server will come up, and then lastly, my app server comes up. I could also do the same in the same manner for my stop wait. So while stopping or turning off my virtual machines or the vApp itself, I can say I want my app server to power off immediately, and then next to that I want my web server to power off, and then my DB server powers off last between them. So once I've created this order, I can go ahead and click OK. So this has been created. So you can see the boot delay between all the servers. The boot delay has been effected on all the servers. I can go ahead and try this and power off my VMs. What you would notice is usually it will synchronize, because the timeline, the boot delay between them is quite minimal. So it will synchronize eventually. But if you go to the virtual machine sections and you monitor the operations on the VM sections, you can actually see which one stops first, which one starts first, and what the order looks like. So going back to the vApp, let's say this is my demo vApp, and I now try to power off the vApp. So the vApp, while powering off the vApp, it means all the virtual machines within the vApp will be powered off. So I'll go ahead and power this off. Yes, power off. Then I go back to my virtual machines, and I can see the DB server, the web server all powering off. So you can see already this has been powered off, right? And this powers off next, and this would go off last. and you could also monitor this from the operations tab. Yeah, so like I mentioned, eventually you'd see all of them synchronizes, and then the power off, all of them are powered off and it synchronizes eventually. But if you were to log on to the DB server or the web server, you can equally monitor which one goes out first and which one comes on, which one goes off first, and in what order they come up as well. So if I also say I want to start this, I can go ahead and also log on to the virtual machine section and look at in what order they actually come on. So you can see the DB server powers on already, comes on first, and then expectedly this will come up next, and then this would come up last. Yeah, so you can set a higher threshold for your boot time between your servers, depending on what you want, basically, but you could start and stop your servers in that order. So the last part of this that I would like to show is how to move virtual machines between vApps. So it's possible to move virtual machines from one vApp to another vApp, or to move them back and forth as you might want to. A key thing to note is while moving virtual machines between vApps, you need to ensure that the same network configurations exist between those vApps, else the virtual machines would lose connectivity. So from the virtual machine pane or from the vApp pane, I can choose to perform this operation. What I will be doing in this case is I'll be moving my vApp, my app VM. So you can see my app VM currently resides in the demo vApp, but I can choose to move it to the other test vApp and select the same storage policy. So like I mentioned, you need to make sure that the network that exists within the demo vApp also exists within the test vApp for you to be able to move these virtual machines. You can see there is no demo network in this test, in this actual vApp. So if I go ahead and insist that this should be moved, I would get an error message saying that the connected NIC is of course not available. The network is not available in this vApp, and I would lose connectivity to that virtual machine in essence if I choose to complete the operation, or I wouldn't be able to complete the operation. So to complete this task, what I will be doing is adding this network. But also in this case, I'm creating a new network which is quite similar to what we have in the demo vApp, but now I have an option of a network to move the VM to. This would also mean the VM will lose connectivity because I'm moving it between different networks, but at least there's a network to move it to within the test vApp. So now I choose to move this to the test vApp. So there's a network to select here. You can see a web network is available to select, and then I can also select the storage policy. And now I should be able to move this. Okay, so the vApp is not powered on. Sorry about that. So we power this on. and then we try the operation again. Hopefully we do not get so it's still powering on, so just wait a little and then we try again. Let's check on the status of this. Okay, failed. Interesting. Start. Interesting. So let's individually power this on and see what happens. Yeah, so the last part of this is to try to move VMs within this demo vApp into this. For some reason, we're unable to power on the test vApp. I will be taking a look at that. But yes, in the next demo video, we would probably cover that as well. Just spend some time troubleshooting that and cover that as well. But basically, this sums up what we tried to do within this video. We created a new vApp. We added virtual machines to that vApp. We created a network within the vApp. We also created a start and stop order and showed how a start and stop order works within the vApp. And basically, yes, that's it for the vApp section. In our next videos, we will be exploring the networking part of the vCloud environment much more. We'll be diving into that. We'll also show you what an edge gateway looks like and how to create firewall rules within the edge gateway, or even how to create load balancers within the edge gateway, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much for joining this session.